Praise the Lord. I'm so glad you took the time to join me once again for 10 Times Better. 10 Times Better is all about what God says concerning the creative design for a man, the potential of a man, the possibilities that are offered to him by a new life in Christ. That every man born again has the potential to be 10 times better than he is. That means man of integrity, man of patience, man of peace. As we look at this particular conversation, as we endeavor in this conversation today regarding 10 times better, I want to take us back to Matthew chapter 5, and we're going to concentrate on verses 10 through 12 today. Matthew chapter 5, verses 10 through 12. And it reads like this: Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. 10 times better, the measure of a man. The creative design of a man, the possibilities and the potential of every man is in this 5th chapter. Jesus, him being the model of a spirit-driven, spirit-indwelled man on the earth, a man representing God, reveals the kingdom identity possible for every man. Let me say that again. In this chapter, Jesus himself reveals the identity that is possible for every single man. When we looked at verse 3 a few weeks ago, man needs to be humble yet strong. Humility has nothing to do with weakness, but everything to do with strength under control, but also that confidence that comes with knowing who you are, not having to lord yourself over people, not having to exert yourself, but also, the next verse tells us, he's one who seeks God in times of trouble. In other words, God is the one he turns to when things are challenging him, because he ultimately understands that his answers are in his thirst for the Lord. The next verse tells us, his soul is where his true value lies. That when a man understands who he is, he will understand the externals are valuable, but the inner man, his heart, his mind, who he is, his soul, is the most valuable thing to him. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and sacrifice his own soul? Verse 6 tells us the measure of a man is a man who intentionally seeks the Lord to bring satisfaction in his life. He intentionally seeks God. He has this relationship with God which is not haphazard, not seasonal, but consistent and intentional. And in that intentionality, he finds all the needs of his life satisfied. The 7th verse tells us that he understands what he sows, he's going to reap. He understands actions get reactions, and he becomes a better steward of the things he says, the things he does, and how he reacts to things. Because the Bible is clear, be not deceived, God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man sows, that shall he reap. So if a man wants love to be given back to him, he must sow love in the right places. If he wants satisfaction, if he wants mercy, he must give mercy, and he will put mercy on deposit, that when his time for mercy comes, he'll receive it. Verse 8 tells us, he understands the need for constant renewal, constant transformation. That renewal of the mind, transformation of the life is not a one-time event. That renewal needs to be intentional, needs to be daily, so that he grows to be who God has created him to be and is headed towards that goal, like pressed towards the mark each and every day. When he finds himself in this, living in this context, the mind is changed. The things that you understand are different. You begin to operate with what the Bible calls a new mind. Man's change is his perception of himself. When a man's perception of himself changes, then his perspective on the world around him will change. It is not until there is a revolution in the way we see ourselves that we can possibly have a different view of the world around us. In other words, my perception of myself drives the way I see the world operating around me. Because perception is all about yourself. Perspective is how you see things working in the world around you. See, men are designed to impact not just their own immediate life, but men are designed to impact the lives of whomever they come in contact with. We get down to verse 9, and it lets us know that a man has to be a negotiator whose goal is peace. He must be a negotiator, a problem solver. This works in life, this works in the marketplace, this works in your place where you work, your occupation, your career. People that solve problems in other people's lives raise their value. If you become a problem solver, your value will be raised in the lives of those that depend upon you, that interact with you. But if you cause problems, if you're someone that drama follows you, then in the eyes of people, your value diminishes. Now here's the crazy thing about this, is that if I'm doing things to diminish my value because I'm bringing drama into people's lives, if I'm bringing strife into people's lives, the ironic thing about it is those of us that act dishonorable want great honor. So it is imperative, my brother, imperative, my sister, as you're helping men become better. And always I thank the ladies for making 10 Times Better such a success. You can impact the lives of those men who are in your life, your fathers, your brothers, your uncles, your sons, your husbands, your boyfriends. You can share these principles of 10 Times Better with them and watch them begin to revolutionize. All you need to show a man is a blueprint, and most men will respond to that blueprint. So a man must be a negotiator where his goal is peace. A person who tries to reunite, not divide. A man who is constantly divisive causes division among those who love him, causes division among wherever dynamic he finds himself, is a man that has not really discovered all that God has made him to be, because a man has been created with the strength, with the wisdom, if he's a learning kind of man, to bring people together, not drive people apart. So that brings us down to verse 10. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Now, one of the things that I find in counseling sessions over the last 31 years with couples and mothers and sisters, as they try to navigate the relationship with their brothers, with the key men in their lives, one of the things they struggle with is a man's apparent lack of commitment. When you begin to understand that mystery creates insecurity and consistency creates security, you can begin to understand why perhaps some of the people around you, my brother and my sister, don't feel like you're a dependable individual. A man who understands the necessity of commitment, the necessity for productivity and predictability, the necessity for reliability, understands the cost of commitment and the cost of consistency. What is that cost? It is often to be misunderstood. When you attempt to be consistent in the lives of those who depend upon you, there are times when you're right, you won't be understood. But your history your consistency, your reliability, your predictability should have produced some security, which makes people more open to hearing your wisdom and taking your direction. It's extremely important that you understand this. If you don't understand, remember another thing I said today, I need you to take this with you. Mystery creates insecurity. Predictability creates security. So if you're mysterious, you can't be depended upon, you don't like people to have an expectation, you will create insecurity in those that are depending upon you. But if you're predictable and consistent and reliable, then security will begin to be birthed in those that depend upon you. The Bible uses the word persecuted, but persecution should drive a man closer to God. Persecution should drive us closer, not away from the Lord. If your persecution, if your stresses are driving you further from your God, then you are not processing your stresses in a mature way. Men that understand who they are find themselves getting closer to God in stressful times, closer to God when things seem to be piling up. You see, this kind of man lives with purpose, knowing his kingdom reward. He's not weary in well-doing. He understands whatever he sows, that's what he's going to reap. In other words, what you put out, you get back. Let's go to verse 11, see what it says. Blessed are you when men shall revile you and persecute you and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely. Say it against you falsely for my sake. Now, each time you encounter unfair criticism, and it's easy to be criticized in the society that we're in because people come to conclusions, they draw conclusions without ever asking you a question. Let me help you with this. I found in my 69 years that people that won't ask you a question are satisfied with the answers they've gotten from other people. People who won't come to you and say, look, this is what is being said. What do you have to say about it? Folk that won't go that far with you, A, don't have the relationship you thought you had, and B, most significantly, they are comfortable with their mindset concerning you in that issue. So what that does is kind of reveal to you who's really with you and who's not. So each time you encounter unfair criticism usually happens when the truth gets too close and makes people uncomfortable. Unfair criticism usually happens when the truth gets too close and people become uncomfortable. Unprovoked criticism is actually provoked by righteousness. When you are attempting to live your life in a righteous way, one of the ironic things about humanity is that there are people waiting for something to criticize. It's not fair, but it's real. If you're trying to do the right thing, sometimes that consistency can produce a little envy. And that envy will produce critical words. But not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're trying to do things right. You may be accused from time to time of being perfect or no one's right all the time like you are. That usually comes from someone who makes a lot of mistakes to someone who attempts to think before they act. Man finds quiet joy when he is unfairly criticized because their words attach you to a blessing. You need to get this spiritual principle. When the criticism is unfair, the criticism is attached to a blessing God has assigned to you. So, men desire affirmation just like ladies do. Men desire compliments like ladies do. He wants that affirmation from those he's assigned to care for and those he's assigned to love. But understands in the kingdom of God, God's praise for him is what he ultimately desires. It's not that he does not need human affirmation. But he must understand that his real affirmation at the end of the day comes from the God in whom he serves. Persecution for righteousness is not always pleasant, but God rewards his servant. If you can't handle the offense, you will never be able to handle the blessing. Let me say that again. In the kingdom of God, in life, if you cannot handle being offended, you are not ready for a breakthrough. Because in my life, I've seen something that's ironic in the Bible. I see something that's really clear, but it's almost counterintuitive. That before a miracle, before a move of God occurs, there will be some form of offense. Either what God is telling you to do will offend your senses. What God is asking you to do will cause you to be somewhat reluctant. Sometimes Jesus is so direct when he's about to perform a miracle that once I saw the pattern, I realized that when God is going to move, an offense will usually occur before the move of God happens. Why? Because if you cannot handle an offense, you cannot handle the breakthrough, the miracle, the blessing, the promotion that you've been waiting for. I'm out of time, but I'm not out of word. I want to thank you once again for joining me for 10 Times Better. Now, make sure you tell someone about us. Invite someone to join us on those Sunday evenings at 5:30 for our discussions, 6 o'clock for our conversation, and then another post-discussion regarding the lesson. Make sure you tell someone about 10 Times Better. And ladies, get this series for those significant men in your life. Listen to it with them if they will let you. Give it to them as a gift. And watch the Word of God, spoken with simplicity and power, begin to transform those key men in your life. The measure of a man, modeled by Jesus Christ, found in Matthew chapter 5. And he can be, and you can be, my brother, a 10 times better man. I'll see you next time.